Two more quarterbacks are down with injuries. Is the modern QB market cursed? Will any of today's cards be able to hold value over time? I think there's one thing that nobody's been talking about that might be a glimmer of hope. Let's data dive. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Data Dive powered by Market Movers. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot. When buying sports cards, it's essential to have realistic expectations about how the value of those cards will evolve over time. Will they go up? Will they go down? By how much? We know that the ultra-modern sports card prices are unlike anything we have ever seen before in terms of the total dollars being spent across all cards. Are these cards all doomed to decline? I've made videos in the past pointing this out, including last week. But this week, I want to take it back up a level, a little more philosophical. So we'll talk about the current landscape of NFL quarterbacks. We'll look at all-time great prices compared to those current QB prices, and then we'll get all fluffy and philosophical. And as always, this video is brought to you by Market Movers. Visit marketmoversapp.com and use promo code DIVE, D-I-V-E, when you check out, and you'll get 14 days completely for free to try out Market Movers, and then 20% off for life. What are you waiting for? Now let's get into the data. All right, so let's kick it off with the current quarterback landscape, and let's talk about injuries. We saw Aaron Rodgers right in that opening moments of the first game of the season go down. Anthony Richardson's out. Daniel Jones is out. Joe Burrow's hurt. Kirk Cousins is done for the season. So is Deshaun Watson. And now we saw Kenny Pickett and Trevor Lawrence both injured. We saw Justin Fields miss time. This year has been absolutely brutal for injuries with quarterbacks. And it's not just injuries. We've also seen a lot of players underperform. Take, for example, MVP contenders, for sure, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. I would argue that both of those guys have underperformed expectations. Both have turned the ball over a lot this season, just like Josh Allen has turned the ball over a lot this season, who currently, I guess in most league formats, still leads in fantasy points, but he keeps turning the ball over. And Lamar Jackson has 11 fumbles, 6 of them lost. A lot of people talking about how Jackson seems to be having a great year. If you actually look at his stats, he's really not. He's not anywhere close to his actual MVP season. The Dolphins' offense has been absolutely unreal, but Tua's role in that is still somewhat questionable from week to week. He's played well, but many wonder how much the overall package with the offensive line, the run game, and that cheetah cheat code who is Tyreek Hill is impacting and propping up Tua's overall value and play. And then meanwhile, you've got Dak Prescott, who many people completely had written off prior to this season, having a career year after many people were doubting his abilities. Brock Purdy is proving all of the doubters wrong, myself included, 100% wrong. And CJ Stroud, out of nowhere, looks like a top quarterback in the NFL already as a rookie. So I would say that this year in general, and I know I'm not alone in this sentiment, has just felt super wonky when we look at how guys are playing. Not just quarterbacks, but other positional players. Fantasy football has been a total, confounding situation. And when we then overlay all of that into card values, especially knowing that football in particular is all about the quarterback position for the most part, it presents a ton of uncertainty and a ton of unpredictability, which may really disenchant hobbyists over time. So let's shift gears and look at some specific pricing data. I'm going to start you out looking at some of the all-time greats from like the 2000s up until now, and then we'll look at modern QB prices. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly over this group of data. This is just to paint a picture. It's nothing new, nothing that I haven't done. But I'm using our sales history feature in Market Movers. This is a feature that we rolled out the weekend of the National. And this will allow you to just look up all transactions across all marketplaces. This eBay data, to be fair, is going back to about May of this year, and then it'll just build going forward. But we've got data that's older from Golden Auctions, PWCC, and the other auction houses. You can see that here. This top sale that we have in our database for Peyton Manning was $72,000, and this was back in 2019. So interesting. This was before the big bull run of the market. And we've got his 1998 playoff contenders ticket. This is an auto 10 PSA. This is an auto PSA 10. So if I pop this open, you can see auto is not graded. This is a PSA 10 here. This sold for $72,000. Now that is definitely Peyton Manning's best rookie card. I would say it's his signed contenders auto. That was I guess a stated print run to 200. They are not serial numbered. I can scroll down. You can see the two essential credentials cards, if you're familiar with those, $60,000, $58,000. And then here's another sale in a BGS 8 of that Contenders auto for $43,000. Here's his PMG for $42,000, and you can kind of scroll down the list and see what those look like. Now, these are all older sales. The point being, Peyton Manning's top sale, really in our database, $72,000. And by the way, if I shift over and I look at that card is a Pop 6. So really important. Obviously, that's a really rare card. Is it of the same caliber as a lot of the cards that are being presented today, NFL Shield autos and those types of things? No, not quite. But that is the best card that Peyton Manning has, and so in that sense, you'd expect it to command a series premium, not unlike Tom Brady's Contenders auto. Let's jump over and let's look at Drew Brees, probably the second best quarterback not named Tom Brady out of the last 20 years. So you got, I would say, Manning and Brees, and then you work down the list. This card, again, it's his Contenders auto. This is definitely his best rookie card. You can see this one, a Gem Mint 10 Auto 10 Pop 3. Sold for $41,000 back in 2020 on Heritage Auctions. You can scroll down. And if you remember, we did a podcast and talked about this on one of the episodes. Jeff actually bought a copy of this. Let me scroll down right here. So he bought a copy of this. I don't know if that was the exact same one or not. On PWCC this past April. Same card, $18,600 for Drew Brees. So that card sold for $41,000 back in 2020. He got it for less than half of that this past April. So that's Drew Brees, $41,000. And if I scroll down, you can see this is actually just the PSA 10, not the Auto 10 Pop 34 on that Brees Contenders auto, rookie ticket auto. Aaron Rodgers, another very talented guy trying to make an insane comeback right now. I don't know if that's smart or not. Here's a few ginormous sales. So you look at this, $225,000, $192,000. This one is his rookie patch to 25. And I'll jump over and show you this is a Pop 2. So very, very low population on that card. And this other one is actually a 1 of 1. So those seem like really giant, significant sales. It's interesting to see that those having sold for significantly more, though this is a true 1 of 1 than both of the two guys we just mentioned. Here's one thing that's crazy, and I'm not trying to kick somebody while they're down, but we just saw the big decrease in LeBron's exquisite RPA. This card sold for $192,000 in the exact same card. The exact same card sold this past January, 2 years later, less than 2 years later, 18 months later, for $39,600. So from 192 down to just shy of 40,000. Same thing happened with that Pop 2 card here, numbered to 25, from $225,000 down to less than $33,000. And this card just sold on Golden on October 1st. So big problems for those cards over time, and that a lot of that, again, has to do with that jet fuel period. People call it the middle finger period on the chart because of the big spike on it. What about Ben Roethlisberger? Hall of Famer, Hall of Fame caliber quarterback for sure. Here's a card, interesting one, actually kind of cool one. This has Eli Manning on the card, the dual shield. This is Ultimate Logo signature, both guys on-card autos, 1 of 1. So not surprising, but that card, $23,000. Roethlisberger's lone card here, 1 of 1, BGS 9.5, Ultimate NFL Shield, $19,200. Let's look at Eli Manning too. Interesting here. All of his top sales, all of them being propped up by having another player on the card. In most cases, his brother. Big Brother's helping lift his card prices on these two sales. This is the one with Ben Roethlisberger that we just saw. So you have to scroll all the way down to here to get to the first card at $5,400 for Eli Manning in his 2006 Ultimate Collection Shield Patch Auto 1 of 1. Let's jump in and take a look at Phillip Rivers. His most expensive card by a landslide, $10,000. Next closest being $3,800. Also has Justin Herbert on it and is also a ultra modern card. Then we start getting down here. It's under $4,000, $3,000. Matthew Stafford had some huge sales during that run of hype and popularity. I will say, Lions fans are a wild bunch. We're desperate for people to root for, and Stafford is one of the all-time greats to ever put on a Lions jersey. So $55,000, $54,000, then we start coming down to earth. In fact, you can see this card at $54,000 back in 2022. Then you can see the same card here for $16,000 this past January. So that trend continues. And then let's look at Matt Ryan. Apparently, Falcons fans just don't really love or care about their quarterback because his most expensive card, which was in August, is an ultra-modern gold standard Matt Ryan, numbered 8 of 10 for $3,800, assuming that that was actually paid for. The next closest, $1,600, and this is his NT RPA. Now, one thing I will point out, just kind of quirky that I noticed, this is his 2008 National Treasures. This is an on-card auto numbered to 99. Really nice patch, and the auto is here, up on this part of the card. When I scroll down, this is the numbered to 25 gold National Treasures. And for some reason, it's a sticker auto on the bottom half that they put down here instead of on card. So I don't know what happened with that, but that would definitely make me pay less for the card, not more, in spite of it being serial numbered. So not a lot of love for Matt Ryan. So what if we shift gears and go through the same exercise on the ultra modern guys? I'm going to go really quickly. Brock Purdy, $122,000, $91,000, $81,000, $35,000, $40,000. Lots of different card prices here, right? What if I jump over and I take a look at Jalen Hurts, $144,000, $43,000. Again, the caliber of cards being produced today, I guess, is a higher level, right? You've got one of ones, you've got these chunky patches, though in many cases, like with this National Treasures, it is not game worn. This might not even be player worn. I can't remember where the cutoff was, but that big Nike swoosh might have just been cut off of a Fanatics jersey and stuck into a card, so you could argue the merits of the quality of the card. This is just a Prism Gold, to 10. It's not a one of one, and that card sold for $43,000. We've got Trevor Lawrence, $336,000, $264,000, $150,000, $91,000, all higher than all of those guys that we were looking at other than Aaron Rodgers. Joe Burrow, $534,000, $336,000. Keep going down the list. Josh Allen, $312,000, $288,000, $264,000. Dak Prescott, much lower. And this is going to segue nicely into the philosophical conversation here. Dak Prescott, much lower, $36,000, $23,000, $22,000. Justin Herbert, $1.8 million for his NFL Shield logo patch auto RPA. $1.8 million for Justin Herbert, who's trapped in Chargers Hades like Phillip Rivers was for his entire career. Then $240,000, $228,000, $228,000, and so on and so forth. Jordan Love, $23,000, $28,000, $11,000. Tua, $60K, $30K, $48K. Justin Fields, $90,000, $40,000, $24,000. So there's a big point here, right? What's the point? It's not just, yeah, these are all expensive cards. It's that overall, there's a ton more money that has been injected into the sports card hobby over the last 3 to 5 years than we've ever seen in history. So when we think big picture and we're trying to say, what are these cards going to be worth in the future? One thing's very clear. For cards to retain value over time, there needs to be a demand for those cards as well as a supply that does not outpace that demand. As I've covered in the past, I believe that there is a saturation point for at least 95% of collectors with respect to their collections and how many cards they want to own. And as new cards are printed, many of those older cards may fall out of favor. So they start trying to sell them, to slow drip them back into the market to see if anybody else wants those cards. It's not surprising at all that sports fans want to collect active players to feel a deeper connection to the athletes and to the games. It's also, therefore, not surprising that as those players retire, only the ones who formed the deepest, nostalgic-based neural pathways in the brains of those sports fans would actually still be desired long-term, i.e. have demand over time. Think about a guy like Dante Culpepper. As good as he was for a few years, especially in 2004, and he had that, kind of Randy Moss moment with him, he has no value today. Neither do players like Carson Palmer or Donovan McNabb, and both of those guys had great careers. The big difference, and this is the piece I really haven't heard anybody talk about, the big difference between those guys and the players today is that the hobby itself wasn't booming in the 2000s. I refer to the 2000s as the dead ball era for sports cards, to swipe a term from baseball. And knowing that nostalgia is what fuels card prices long-term, where hype fuels them in the short term, my question for all of you is the overall resurgence of the sports card hobby today enough to create deep, nostalgic neural pathways such that a greater number of players and cards will be desired into the future than these prior areas with significantly less overall hobby interest? Is the reason why players like Dante Culpepper at his level, all the way up to even Peyton Manning, that they don't have big-time value is because they just didn't have the kinds of cards that exist today, nor the massive interest in the sports card hobby overall. I know for myself as a collector, I gravitate toward the 90s, and I can feel that little nostalgic tickle in the brain that's very, very different than other areas when I wasn't actively collecting, even though I think those cards are really, really cool. So overall, I do not know if the modern paradigm and the influx of interest in the cards now will prop up the prices of certain players long term, just flat out more than the players of a similar ilk from the 2000s. The hobby, like I said, is driven by nostalgia long term. Penny Hardaway didn't have a great career due to injuries, but his card prices are higher than his career accolades would suggest because he was so popular in the 90s, like an iconic figure, and people still want to collect him today. People who collected him then, people who remember him fondly and love those commercials and everything that he did, they still want to collect him, and they pay more than some other players who actually, frankly, had Hall of Fame better careers. There's undeniably an overall pattern of decline in most cards from their time of release into the future 10 years and beyond. So the question is, will that pattern shift somewhat based on greater hobby interest overall right now? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there, do me a huge favor, like this video, make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, happy investing, keep on collecting, and make sure to have fun.